Nestled deep in the valleys of the Ogun Empire sat a village called Mbala, a place where everyone knew everyone's business. The people of Mbala lived peacefully. They farmed, they traded, they laughed together under the moonlight, sharing stories and palm wine. But everything changed when the death started. One by one, young women were dying in ways nobody could explain. Each morning brought the same nightmare. Another woman would be found lifeless, her eyes wide open in terror, with two strange puncture marks on her neck. The marks looked like snake bites. But here's the thing, no one ever saw a snake, not a single witness, not a single clue, just dead women and unanswered questions. Chief Okorocha, the village leader, sent his best hunters into the forest. Find this serpent and kill it, he commanded. However, the hunters returned empty-handed every single time. Meanwhile, the death toll kept rising. 5 women, then 7, then 10. Mothers locked their daughters inside at night. Women stopped going to the stream alone. Fear became as common as breathing in Mbala. Yet, through all this terror, one man seemed completely unbothered, and that man would become the center of this horrifying tale. His name was Kunle, and calling him handsome would be an understatement. Tall, muscular, skin that gleamed like polished ebony, eyes that seemed to hold secrets of the universe, and a smile. Oh, that smile could melt the strongest woman's resolve. Kunle worked as the village blacksmith, hammering iron into tools and weapons. Women would invent reasons to visit his workshop just to catch a glimpse of him. Furthermore, Kunle knew exactly what he was doing. He would flash that devastating smile. He would speak in that deep, honey-smooth voice. He would make each woman feel like she was the only person that mattered. "You are different from the others," he would say, looking directly into their eyes. And they believed him, every single one of them. What none of them knew was that Kunle carried a secret darker than the night itself. While other men worried about the mysterious deaths, Kunle went about his business with a strange calmness. He showed no fear, no concern, nothing. In fact, if you looked closely, you might notice something disturbing. The deaths seemed to increase whenever Kunle showed particular interest in a woman. Nevertheless, no one made the connection. How could they? Kunle was perfect, charming, trustworthy, or so they thought. But behind his perfect exterior lay a pattern of death that would shock even the bravest soul. Kunle had a pattern, though nobody noticed it yet. First, he would choose his target, usually the most beautiful or most resistant woman in the village. The chase excited him, the conquest thrilled him. Then came the seduction phase. Kunle would approach slowly, casually, never rushing. He would offer help carrying water. He would compliment her wrapper. He would ask about her family. Additionally, he would listen, really listen, making each woman feel heard and valued. Once he sensed her guard dropping, Kunle would invite her to his hut on the outskirts of Mbala. Just to talk, he would say, with that innocent smile, away from all the gossip, and they would come. How could they resist? Inside his hut, Kunle would pour palm wine on him. He would tell stories. He would move closer, his voice dropping to an intimate whisper. Then he would ask the question that sealed their fate. "Do you know what makes a man truly powerful?" Before the woman could answer, Kunle would begin to whistle, a soft, eerie melody that seemed to come from another world. The woman would feel uneasy, sensing something wrong, but unable to move. That's when it would emerge. From beneath Kunle's wrapper, a massive black serpent would slither out, but this was no ordinary snake. This serpent was Kunle's manhood, transformed through dark magic to a deadly weapon. The women would try to scream, but fear paralyzed their voices. The snake would coil around them, squeezing gently, almost lovingly. Then with terrifying precision, it would strike, fangs sinking deep into the neck. The venom worked quickly. Within minutes, the woman would be dead, her eyes frozen in horror. By morning, Kunle would place the body in the village square and the cycle would begin again. Mourning, fear, confusion. Except this time, someone was watching. Someone who had traveled far with revenge burning in her heart. Her name was Folake, and she arrived in Mbala on a Tuesday afternoon, carrying nothing but a small bag and a heart full of rage. Folake was different from the village women, taller, more confident. She walked like someone who had seen things others couldn't imagine. She had come to visit her grandmother, or so she told people. The truth was far more personal. 3 months ago, Folake's younger sister, Bimpe, had died in the neighboring village of Igbo. Same mysterious circumstances, same snakebite marks on the neck. Before her death, Bimpe had told Folake about a new man in her life. Sister, she gushed, he's perfect, handsome, sweet, attentive. He makes me feel alive. But Bimpe never revealed his name. She only mentioned that he was a blacksmith who had recently moved to Igbo. 2 weeks later, Bimpe was dead. Folake's grief transformed into obsession. She spent weeks investigating, questioning villagers, tracking patterns. Eventually, her search led to a powerful priestess in the mountains. The priestess's words still echoed in Folake's mind. You seek a man who is not fully a man. His manhood is cursed, transformed by dark magic into a serpent that feeds on women's life force. He seduces, he kills, then he moves to the next village. How do I stop him? Folake had asked desperately. The priestess handed her a carved wooden flute. This flute carries ancient power. When the serpent appears, blow it. The sound will break his control and turn the snake against its master. But timing is everything. Blow too early or too late, and you will die like the others. Armed with this knowledge and the magical flute, Folake tracked the killer to Mbala. The moment she saw Kunle, she knew. His charm, his confidence, the way he commanded attention, it all matched Bimpe's description perfectly. But Folake couldn't just accuse him. She needed proof. She needed to catch him in the act. So she did something dangerous. She made herself the bait. What followed was a deadly game of cat and mouse that would determine both their fates. Unlike other women, Folake didn't fall at Kunle's feet. When he smiled at her, she barely acknowledged him. When he offered help, she politely declined. This drove Kunle crazy. He was used to women crumbling under his attention. Folake's indifference felt like a challenge, one he couldn't ignore. Kunle increased his efforts. He would accidentally appear wherever Folake went. He would make clever comments. He would showcase his strength at the blacksmith forge when she walked by. Still, Folake remained distant, polite but cold, interested but unreachable. This only made Kunle want her more. Weeks passed. The tension between them grew. Kunle became obsessed, and Folake knew her plan was working. Then unexpectedly, Folake changed tactics. She started smiling back. She accepted his offer to carry her water. She lingered at his workshop asking questions about his craft. Kunle thought he was finally winning. He had no idea he was walking into a trap. One evening, as the sun painted the sky orange and purple, Kunle made his move. Folake, his voice dripping with false sincerity. I've enjoyed getting to know you. Would you visit my hut tonight? I have something special to share with you. Folake pretended to hesitate, then nodded. I'll come. Inside, her heart pounded with fear and determination. That night would change everything. Kunle's hut sat away from the main village, surrounded by tall grass and palm trees. Perfect for privacy, perfect for murder. When Folake arrived after sunset, Kunle greeted her with his most charming smile. His hut was lit with oil lamps, creating dancing shadows on the walls. Come, sit, Kunle said, patting the mat beside him. I'm glad you came. Folake sat, her hands secretly gripping the wooden flute hidden in her wrapper. Every muscle in her body was tense, ready. Kunle poured palm wine and began his usual routine. Compliments, stories, that hypnotic voice designed to lower defenses. He moved closer. His hand brushed her arm. You're not like other women, Folake. You're special. Despite knowing his true nature, Folake felt the pull of his charm. She understood now how easily women fell into his trap. Then Kunle asked the question, do you know what makes a man truly powerful? Folake's hand tightened on the flute. This was it. Before she could respond, Kunle began to whistle. That eerie, otherworldly sound filled the small hut.
Folake's blood ran cold, and she saw movement beneath Kunle's wrapper. Something was slithering, emerging, growing. The serpent appeared, massive, black, with eyes that glowed like hot coals. But it wasn't just next to Kunle. It was Kunle, an extension of his body. His cursed manhood transformed into death itself. The serpent rose, its forked tongue tasting the air, its gaze fixed on Folake's neck. Kunle's smile widened. Don't be afraid. It will only hurt for a moment. But Folake was already moving. What happened next would reverse the hunter and the hunted. In one swift motion, Folake pulled out the wooden flute and brought it to her lips. Kunle's eyes widened in shock. What are you? The sound that came from the flute was unlike anything heard before. High-pitched, piercing, powerful. The serpent froze mid-strike, inches from Folake's neck. Its body trembled, confused, as if receiving conflicting commands. Folake blew harder, pouring all her rage and grief into the sound. The serpent's head swiveled away from Folake and turned slowly, inevitably, towards Kunle.
No, Kunle whispered, fear replacing his usual confidence. No, no, no! He tried to whistle again, to regain control, but the flute's magic was stronger. The serpent, now under Folake's command, coiled backward. Kunle scrambled to his feet, backing against the wall. Please, I can't change. I can't. You killed my sister, Folake said, her voice steady despite the tears streaming down her face. You killed Bimpe. You killed all those women. You destroyed families, shattered lives. The serpent advanced on Kunle, its own master, with deadly intent. Tell me, Folake continued, still playing the flute between words, did they beg? Did they plead for their lives while your snake drained them? Kunle tried to run, but the serpent was too fast. It wrapped around his legs, then his torso, squeezing with crushing force. I'm sorry, Kunle screamed. I didn't want this. The curse. I couldn't control it. Liar, Folake said coldly. You enjoyed it. Every death, every conquest, every moment of power. The serpent's fangs found Kunle's neck. He gasped, his body convulsing as his own venom entered his bloodstream. The irony wasn't lost on Folake, killed by his own weapon, the same way he'd murdered countless women. Kunle's eyes met Folake's one last time. In them, she saw not remorse, but anger that he'd been beaten. Within minutes, it was over. Kunle lay dead, the serpent slowly dissolving into black smoke now that its master was gone. Folake collapsed, exhausted, traumatized, but victorious. When morning came, the truth would finally be revealed to the village. By sunrise, the entire village gathered in Kunle's hut. Chief Okorocha stood speechless, staring at the blacksmith's corpse. Folake, her voice hoarse but clear, told them everything. The curse, the pattern of deaths, her sister's murder, the priestess's flute. Some villagers wept, others stood in stunned silence. The women who had flirted with Kunle, who had dreamed of becoming his wife, now realized how close they had come to death. He lived among us, one elder said, shaking his head. We trusted him. We never suspected. That's how predators work, Folake replied. They hide behind charm and beauty. They make you trust them before they strike. Chief Okorocha placed a hand on Folake's shoulder. You saved this village. You avenged not just your sister, but all the women who fell to his evil. But Folake felt no triumph, only exhaustion and grief. The villagers wanted to honor her, to celebrate, but Folake quietly left Mbala the next day. Some wounds she knew would never fully heal. And so the story spread, carrying with it a warning that would echo through generations. Years passed, and the story of Kunle, the serpent-man, became legend throughout the Ogun Empire.
Mothers told it to their daughters as a warning. Beauty can hide darkness. Charm can mask danger. Trust your instincts, not just your emotions. Fathers told it to their sons. Real strength isn't in seduction or conquest, but in honor and respect. The village of Mbala eventually healed, though they never forgot. They built a shrine in honor of the women who died, and every year they would gather to remember them, not as victims, but as daughters, sisters, friends who deserved better. As for Folake, she became a protector of women throughout the empire. She learned more about dark magic, about predators who hid among innocent people, about ancient defenses against supernatural threats. She never married, never settled. Her mission became her life, hunting those who preyed on the vulnerable, stopping monsters before they could claim more victims. Some say on quiet nights, you can still hear the sound of her flute, warning predators that they are being watched, because evil may hide in plain sight, but justice, when it comes, is absolute. And from this tale, we learn lessons that remain relevant even today. This story isn't just about a cursed man or a brave woman. It's about the dangers that hide behind attractive faces and smooth words. Not all monsters look like monsters. Some smile beautifully. Some speak sweetly. Some make you feel special while leading you toward destruction. The real lesson? Trust must be earned, not given freely, just because someone is handsome or charming. Pay attention to patterns. Notice inconsistencies. Listen to that inner voice that warns you when something feels wrong. And remember, true character reveals itself not in words, but in actions. Not in promises, but in consistency. Not in what someone says they are, but in how they treat others when nobody's watching. Kunle's charm fooled an entire village. His beauty blinded people to the evil underneath. Don't let surface beauty blind you to hidden darkness, because sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one that makes you feel safest. The one that seems too perfect, too charming, too good to be true. That's when you should be most careful. That's when you should ask questions. That's when you should trust your instincts over your emotions. The women of Mbala learnt this lesson too late, but their story ensures that others don't have to. Stay alert, stay wise, and never ignore the warning signs, no matter how beautiful the package they come in.